Marvel Rivals is shaping up to be the ultimate superhero team shooter, bringing epic battles between heroes and villains straight to our screens. But there's one problem. They're missing some legends. Imagine Daredevil sneaking through the battlefield, Cyclops blasting enemies with precision, or Deadpool causing pure chaos with his fourth wall-breaking antics. Sounds insane, right? Today, we're counting down 10 characters who need to be in Marvel Rivals. Some of these picks would totally shake up the meta, and a few could be completely overpowered in the right hands. Stay tuned for our number 1 pick, because it could be the strongest tank in the game. Alright, let's dive in. Number 10, Daredevil, Duelist. Kicking things off at number 10, we have the man without fear, Daredevil. Now, Marvel Rivals is all about dynamic movement, and Daredevil would be the ultimate melee duelist with insane agility and awareness. His radar sense would completely change the way players track enemies, letting him see opponents through walls and detect attacks before they happen. This means he'd be nearly impossible to flank, making him a dangerous 1v1 fighter against speedsters like Black Panther or Spider-Man. His Billy Club assault would be a tricky ranged attack, bouncing off walls and hitting multiple enemies if thrown at the right angle. And his Shadow Step? Imagine a dodge move that makes him briefly untouchable, allowing him to weave between attacks and counterstrike. But the real chaos comes with his ultimate, Hell's Kitchen Fury. Daredevil would unleash a flurry of brutal strikes, disorienting enemies and stunning them for his teammates to finish off. For players who love fast, high-risk melee combat, Daredevil would be a must-pick. Number 9, Deadpool, Duelist. At number 9, it's everyone's favorite merc with a mouth, Deadpool. You already know he'd be the most unpredictable character in the game. He's fast, agile, and literally impossible to kill thanks to his regenerative healing factor, which would let him passively regenerate health over time. But Deadpool's true power? His pure chaos factor. His dual-wield ability lets him switch between katanas for melee attacks and pistols for ranged combat, meaning he can fight from any distance. And then there's his teleportation device, a short-range blink that confuses enemies, letting him disappear and reappear in the middle of fights. But the real fun comes with his ultimate, fourth wall break. This could be completely unpredictable, maybe randomly swapping enemy controls, spawning tacos that heal teammates, or even summoning a Deadpool clone for backup. One thing's for sure, if Deadpool makes it into Marvel Rivals, he's going to be the most fun and annoying character to fight against. Number 8, Cyclops, Strategist. Now for number 8, it's time for the X-Men's fearless leader, Cyclops. Marvel Rivals already has tons of close-range brawlers, so what about a precision-based, long-range strategist? Cyclops would be a high-skill sniper, using optic blasts that pierce through enemies and let him control key sightlines. His tactical command ability would be an absolute game-changer, boosting teammates' critical hit damage, making him a perfect team leader. And the best part? Visor calibration. Imagine being able to switch between different optic blast settings, one for wider crowd control and another for focused, high-damage sniping. But nothing compares to his ultimate, full power. When he removes his visor, he fires a massive energy beam that cuts across the battlefield, obliterating everything in its path. If you love playing snipers or precision shooters, Cyclops would be an absolute menace in Marvel Rivals. Number 7, Jean Grey, Strategist. At number 7, we're stepping into Omega-level mutant territory, Jean Grey. She wouldn't just be a support hero, she'd be one of the most powerful battlefield manipulators in the game. Her telekinesis would let her lift and throw objects or even enemies, making her a nightmare for tanks trying to hold the front line. Her mind shield could absorb incoming attacks, while Psychic Link could transfer her own health to an injured teammate. But the real chaos comes with her ultimate, Phoenix Force. When activated, Jean resurrects herself if downed, gains boosted power, and engulfs enemies in cosmic flames. Picture Jean hovering above the battlefield, raining down Phoenix energy, melting opponents, and single-handedly turning the tide of battle. She'd be one of the most OP support heroes in the game, if you know how to use her. Number 6, Iceman, Vanguard. Sliding in at number 6, we have one of the coolest, pun intended, characters in Marvel, Iceman. Iceman wouldn't just be a tank, he'd be one of the most mobile tanks in Marvel Rivals. His ice slide ability would let him glide across the battlefield, giving him insane speed and agility, something most tanks lack. Imagine creating icy paths for teammates to follow while leaving a slippery trail that slows down enemies. His frostbite attack would blast enemies with cold energy, slowing them down and making them easier to hit. His ice armor? A passive damage reduction shield that makes him one of the hardest tanks to take down. And then there's his ultimate, Blizzard. Iceman summons a massive snowstorm that freezes enemies in place, turning the battlefield into a winter wasteland of chaos. If Marvel Rivals needs a defensive tank with serious battlefield control, Iceman is the perfect pick. Number 5, Gambit, Duelist. At number 5, let's talk about the smoothest X-Man in the game, Gambit. Gambit is a fan favorite because of his incredible agility, close-range combat skills, and, of course, his explosive kinetic energy attacks. He'd be a hybrid melee-ranged fighter, switching seamlessly between throwing charged playing cards and using his bow staff for fast, close-range attacks. His charged cards ability would let him hurl exploding cards that deal area damage, perfect for flushing out enemies from cover. His bow staff assault would make him a quick and unpredictable melee fighter, similar to how Black Panther or Spider-Man fight in Marvel Rivals. And then there's his kinetic boost, an ability that amps up his attack speed and movement speed for a short burst, making him even harder to hit. But the real magic? His ultimate, Royal Flush. Gambit unleashes a full deck of kinetically charged cards, sending them flying in all directions, dealing massive area damage. If you love playing quick, stylish, high-skill duelists, Gambit would be a dream addition to Marvel Rivals. Number 4, Rogue, Vanguard. Next up at number 4, we have one of the most unique tanks in Marvel history, Rogue. Rogue isn't just a brute force tank, she's an ability thief. Her power absorption ability would be one of the most game-changing mechanics in Marvel Rivals. Imagine stealing an enemy's ability for a short time and using it against them. She could borrow Iron Man's repulsors, Storm's lightning strikes, or even Deadpool's teleportation. The possibilities are endless. On top of that, she has super strength, which means her melee punches could knock back enemies, making her great for disrupting fights. And of course, she can fly, giving her huge mobility over other vanguards. And her ultimate, Borrowed Power? This is where she absorbs the abilities of all nearby enemies at once, making her a walking superweapon for a few seconds. If you love playing high-impact, disruptive tanks, Rogue would be an absolute game-changer. Number 3, Beast, Strategist. Swinging into number 3, we have Beast. Now, don't let the fur fool you. Beast isn't just a bruiser, he's one of the smartest characters in the Marvel Universe. Beast would be a strategic disruptor, using his acrobatic agility to leap across the battlefield and analyze enemy weaknesses to increase his teammates' damage output. His acrobatic assault would be a powerful leap attack, dealing damage on landing and making him a great initiator in fights. His intellectual insight ability would scan enemies, marking them for extra damage, which would be perfect for team-based combat. And then there's his Primal Roar, a massive AoE debuff that reduces enemy attack power, making Beast an amazing defensive strategist. But his ultimate, Feral Frenzy? That's when things get wild. Beast completely lets loose, boosting his speed, attack power, and durability for a short period, making him an absolute nightmare to fight. For players who love a mix of brains and brute force, Beast is the strategist you've been waiting for. Number 2, Professor X, Strategist. Now at number 2, we have the most powerful mind in the Marvel Universe, Professor X. Professor X wouldn't just be a support hero, he'd be one of the most OP battlefield controllers ever. His telepathic communication would reveal enemy positions to the whole team, making him a walking UAV scanner that gives his team the upper hand. His mind control ability could be the most broken mechanic in the game. Imagine forcing an enemy to attack their own teammates for a short time. That's pure battlefield chaos. And his mental shield? That would let him protect allies from debuffs and ultimate abilities, making him an essential character for high-level play. But the real game-breaker? His ultimate, Cerebro Overload. With this, Professor X overwhelms every enemy's mind at once, stunning them for a few seconds and dealing psychic damage. It's basically a team-wide shutdown that could completely change the tide of battle. If Marvel Rivals wants a game-defining strategist, Professor X is the ultimate pick. Number 1, Colossus, Vanguard. And at number 1, it's time for the big guy, Colossus. Every game needs a tank that can take an insane amount of damage, and Colossus is built for that role. His organic steel transformation turns his entire body into metal, reducing all incoming damage significantly, making him one of the most durable characters in Marvel history. His heavy strike ability sends enemies flying across the map, breaking shields and formations like a wrecking ball. And his ultimate? Oh, you're going to love this. Unstoppable Charge. Colossus rushes forward with full momentum, knocking down enemies, breaking barriers, and sending anything in his path flying. Imagine Juggernaut's unstoppable power, but even scarier. If Marvel Rivals needs a true tank that defines frontline combat, Colossus is the perfect pick. And that's our list. But now, it's time for you to decide. Which Marvel character do you think should be in Marvel Rivals? Should we get more X-Men? More villains? Maybe even cosmic characters like Silver Surfer? Drop your top picks in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Marvel gaming content. See you in the next one. Excelsior!